Yeah. Okay, well, let's continue with item number 11, our final item under old business, and it's consideration of the final approval of the dredging letter. And some or all of you may recall that this was also discussed at our last meeting, that council has expressed a commitment to providing information to members of the community about the dredging project, trying to give an up-to-date description of where things stand. All council members have had an opportunity to look at a couple versions or iterations of the dredging letter and make comments about it. And tonight, hoping what we are going to do is put the seal on saying this is the letter and it's going to go out soon. One of the reasons that we are waiting until tonight was to give an opportunity for any updates that occurred from the time of our last meeting to the time of this meeting. And there is one update, and that is something that all of council is aware of, about the completeness check. So we can simply make, it turns out to be, I think, just a change in one sentence about that. There's one capital letter that should be lowercase. There is one item that has been brought to my attention by a few people since the last meeting, and that's the very end of the dredging letter. So as a place to start our discussion tonight, or start and finish, the very last part of the last paragraph was that questions or comments from those receiving the letter were encouraged to be returned to. In one edition, it was info at Sunset Beach. In another, it was Sunset Beach at atmc.net. The individuals who have spoken with me highly recommended that we put someone's name there, that would personalize the letter in an important way and let them know that it was going to a specific person. These individuals suggested that name be mine. I guess I'm willing to have that name be mine, but we can do that in different ways. But I wonder what council thinks about.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would like to suggest that the emails of everyone here on this dais be included in the letter, and that way those people can contact all of us or pick the person they so choose to contact. And that way the information will be readily available for FOIA.
And would you be suggesting that if you see that a message has gone only to you, let's say, that you would in turn...
I would forward it to Lisa.
To Lisa, and
yes.
Then with the presumption that Lisa would then forward it to all of us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Wouldn't it kind of make sense in that case to just have all of the letters go to Lisa at the address that she wants, and then she...
I think we all
puts it
need to
back
see,
out to
I think we
everybody?
all need to see the letters.
That's what I'm just saying. Lisa goes in, and as part of her response is she sends them to everybody. She's the one who can send the letter without violating any open meeting laws to all of us.
I understand that, John,
You know,
but...
if it comes to me, I have to send it to her and
That's-
ask her to
and-
send it to
Hold on,
everybody else.
wait, one at a time, please.
An individual should have the right to choose who they want to send that information to of the officials in the town. We are the officials. It should come to us.
Yeah, first of all, we have to ask Lisa if she wants to take on this task. 'Cause a lot of more work.
Well, and I will address that, and that was one of the reasons that I was suggesting that, that they go to me. I think all of these are going to deserve a reply. Now, none of us are going to be able to write individual letters to each person if we get a large number of responses. And a large number of responses, I think, is a good possibility. So I imagine, or this is how I see it, and I would be glad to, very happy to hear from others, that we would probably have a standard paragraph that we would send to people who have sent the message, and an indication that everybody on council and Hiram and Lisa would receive copies of it. So I would be willing to take that on, but I'm reluctant to give that responsibility to Lisa, given all of her other responsibilities. That's why I proceeded as I did. Please go ahead and comment.
I just like to say real quick that, I think Jan's right, all our names should be there, but all correspondence should be sent to the mayor and listed that way on the bottom of the page.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, is the letter going out with your signature? If it is going out with your signature, it should have your email address.
I think it should be addressed,
I
Rich,
would-
the whole council's letter.
That's how I would see this, that it would be from the mayor and and all members
Right,
of the
right.
council.
Yeah, is there a problem with that?
The only thing I have to ask for about is the second paragraph to the end. When you put a dollar amount of $4,000 to $5,000, I don't think that's proper. We should put a number there because it may go to 7,000, it may go to 3,500. Aren't we holding ourselves liable? What if it goes to 5,500? People go, whoa, you said 5,000. I'm not paying 5,500. So I think is that legal? Will you put that number there, Hiram?
It's legal to put a number, however, I'm not sure you should, for reasons that you're bringing up, but also I'm not sure this was calculated based on linear footage either. And if y'all are proposing to go based on linear footage, your average should be considered based on linear footage numbers, in my personal opinion, if you're gonna put in potential costs. You can put in potential costs, you can leave them out either way. Putting in the total project cost is fine too. It's really up to y'all what you want to communicate. My recommendation would be if you don't know for sure what your range is, make it wider.
And make it clear that this is an estimate. This is
Oh,
not etched in concrete.
Well,
This whole letter is right now, there's areas that do present it as this is tentative information. So I think you're fine there, but Councilman Benton, or Mayor Pro Tem Benton's correct. People are going to hone in on certain parts and not read the whole thing. So it wouldn't hurt when you get to the money area to reiterate that it is a tentative projection.
it already does.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is it doesn't hurt that if you're going to keep it in there.
I think one of the most important and common questions that people have is to get some expectation of how much this is going to cost. That was our reason for putting that in the first place. The sentence immediately after the $4,000 and to $5,000 figure says this number is subject to change. Throughout the letter, I think it indicates, as Hiram just said, that things are tentative, that this is information based on where we are now. But our choice is either to give tentative information or not provide the kind of information that I think people want. Now, having said that,
Mayor, I'd just like to,
it's-
I think
go
what you
ahead.
said, the number subject to change is fine. But I would just add that this is an estimate in there. Make it very clear it's an estimate.
that
So-
could,
That's all.
yeah, that could easily be done, and that's following sentence,
Right.
that this number is an estimate and is subject to change.
That would be perfect. I'd be fine with that.
Okay? And Janet, it seemed
I
like
agree,
that,
I agree.
you
I
concurred
agree.
with that
Yes, I
would
do.
be
Yes,
sufficient.
yes.
Well,
I have an item
go
to
ahead, John.
discuss there. We had a couple people speak in the public comment portion, and we had a couple of emails come in that I think everybody saw. Former Councilman Pete Larkin sent in an argument of why we should reconsider the basis that we have for doing the cost. I was one who voted to go with the legislative rule that Councilwoman Harris presented. And I think, you know, in further consideration, we might be able to think through, is there a way we can sort of put in an exception of an appeal process or something, or a limit, if you will, as was pointed out, the way one lot is laid out, instead of $5,000, it could cost them $25,000.
John, real
Some
quick.
type of limitation, and I don't know, but I mean, you know, I've just starting to think about this. This issue has been raised, and there might be a more equitable way of doing things, such as, you know, Hiram pointed out how they came up with an equitable way of figuring out how to appropriate the cost for North Shore and Cobia. I would like that we leave open an option of considering to come out with a formula to remove the extremes, to make it a more equitable
Well, John, real
process.
quick, Mayor, I'd just like to add to this. You know, I've been through these in Ocean Isle, my uncle's places. You know, I think it's a much easier way just to give a cost estimate, these property owners, with just the property itself. Everybody pays the same amount. If you own a lot that has 75 feet, you're paying $5,000. If you have 50 feet, you're paying $5,000. Makes it easy for the town, makes it easy to calculate the estimate. And how many homes are involved, John? Roughly 335?
320 to 350.
All right, so it'd be so much easier to calculate it that way than putting, like, you know, Tony's property has a big bulkhead. Well, he still has probably the same square footage as my lot, maybe a little bit bigger, but he shouldn't be charged 5 times more than anybody else.
Yeah, and that's
I
what
agree
I'm
with
saying.
that.
We ought to, you know, to an extent, figure out how we can come
But
up
that's
with a
what I'm
more
saying, John,
equitable
just
way to
the
do it.
easy way. Everybody pays
should
the
not-
same amount.
We should not delay this letter for this purpose. This is something we're going to have to hash out eventually. And I agree, we need to hash it out. But it does not need to keep this letter from going out.
Okay, but what I'm saying is needs to be done is either say, we're still figuring out how to do it.
It's a work in progress.
It's, you know, how we're going to apportion the cost is a work in progress. And without saying, this is, what we're saying now is, this is how we're gonna do it.
Well,
And leave open the
I mean,
flexibility.
it says that because that's what council passed on July 2nd.
I understand that. And then
Mr.
we've added in that there still needs to be a public hearing
Yeah,
to address it.
and if
that-
that's how council feels, then I think there are ways we can address that by indicating, I mean, I think to technically be accurate, you may want to rescind the motion on July 2nd, or I could indicate that that is what has been passed, but reword the last line there. It says a public hearing will be held prior to these details being finalized. So that already is suggesting that there is the possibility of change. We could simply add some language there to make that clear that that is a possibility.
Mr. Mayor, I was not here July 2nd, and I was not very pleased with the linear foot algorithm. And I have my reasons, and one is fairness. It should be based on per lot. Corner people who live on a corner lot should not pay twice. Everyone's using the waterway, and everyone should pay equally. However, what disturbs me the most is this letter has to go out. It should have been out several weeks ago. You sent the letter to the council, you asked for our input, suggestions, and I was a good boy. I provided them. You attempted to schedule a special meeting so that we could just devote that whole session just for this letter. And here we are, November 5th, and we're still talking about the letter. I agree with Ms. Harris. We can't delay this any further. This is a work in progress. We've heard some citizens raise concerns about linear footage. There may be other concerns. We may have to modify our policies. We may have to modify a number of other things as we continue with this. I mean, we've already had to delay the permit, I guess, was delayed because there was an administrative error.
Some additional materials were needed.
Yeah, we have a fiduciary responsibility to get this out. It's going to change. There will be a second letter. There will be a third letter. All of a sudden, we're in such a rush to dredge when we spent 3 years whether or not we should dredge Jinks Creek. And now we want to dredge by this January. We've got to get this letter out, Mr. Mayo. And I don't know what to tell you. I think if, other than maybe Grady could do a legal review on the statute to make sure that we do have the flexible, either if it's linear footage or per lot, we can do that in conjunction while the letter is out.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to add, this work is in progress. Changes may occur. If we could just put that someplace in the letter, I'm fine with this letter going out now. The changing of this, that's fine with me. And this is a letter, a work in progress. Things may change down the road. And we'll keep you addressed to all the problems, changes that occur. I think if he agrees to do that, I have no problems with this letter going out.
I think everybody is
Yeah, I think so.
very interested in this letter going out.
Absolutely.
Now.
Absolutely.
I think the changes you suggested, I would say are good changes. It adds emphasis that things are fluid, that these are estimates. There are things out of our control that could change things, but this is the best that we know them right now.
I think if we make those changes, Mayor, I have no problems.
Yeah. And
You want
just
to put that in the motion?
Yeah.
put in waffle words about how we're gonna do the cost.
Yes, that paragraph, I think, would be the most,
Don't lock
probably
us-
the most
don't
important
lock us
one.
into
to-
a-
to,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to
Mr.
take a
Mayor.
I'm sorry, Charlie, I'd like to put a motion in that we accept this letter with the brief changes, some changes that we're gonna do that you're gonna put together as far as with the price and with, this is a work in progress. And with those changes, I'd like to put a motion that we pass this letter.
Second.
Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say, mainly to everybody out there, this letter is going out, you're going to get it. There are some points of this letter that aren't clear at this time to any of us. You will be notified when it is clear. Thank you.
That second, Charlie, you seconded, right?
Will we see this draft again, or are you just gonna take it, make it, and send it?
Well, I can do this early tomorrow morning and send it out. Uh-oh, maybe
Yes,
I can't
please.
send it out. The concern there
Violation of
would
open
be
meeting
the
laws.
violation of open meeting
Yeah.
laws,
So-
because
We
you would be
just discussed-
deliberating
Give
on that.
Well, if you sent it to Lisa, then
give it
Lisa
to
could send it to
Lisa,
us.
send it
No,
out.
I think it's the same problem.
Ju-
No,
but-
Lisa can send it out.
Yeah, well, no, the corrections that in the motion are what y'all are voting on, and then to proceed with the letter, that's the motion. For you to approve to look at it again is basically what you're asking to do, and make a
That's
decision
not-
via email after reviewing it one more time is the violation of open meetings law. The motion at hand is just send a letter out with the revisions as discussed.
That's all we
perfectly-
need.
That's fine.
I'm answering the question, sir. That's what's happened. If you do it again and send it by email and say, is this okay with everybody? That's a violation. If he sends it to you and says, this is what we're sending out, that's not a violation.
I don't have a problem with Mayor saying that he's make these changes and then send it out.
Agreed.
I'm
I
comfortable with
agree.
Yeah, just,
Get it done.
And the one issue that we have not, I believe, fully or completely addressed tonight is to whom this, sorry, thank you, to whom this will be sent. I didn't sense that we had reached final agreement on that. Did I miss it?
I think it should be, all correspondence should be addressed to you with the town council at the back of the letter too, saying that this is a letter from the town council and the mayor of Sunset Beach. Please send all correspondence to your email address.
Didn't we already decide that this was going to everybody in the town?
Yes,
We have.
yeah.
Is that okay, Mayor?
Is what Mark has said acceptable to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
So you make,
Yeah,
the
that's
you'll make
fine.
the changes and put the waffles
All right.
and all that in.
Now, we still haven't voted on your motion yet. It has been made and seconded.
Right, all-
All those in favor of Mark's motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
As I understand our previous meeting, the letter to the property owners will be done in-house so that it can get out immediately, and then the rest of the property owners will be done by an outside organization. Is that correct?
I believe that's still the plan. Yeah, thank
Okay.
you for
let's just get it out.
saying and clarifying.
You have those in tomorrow's mail, Lisa?
3 or 4 of them.
Okay, well, let's
You already
move
volunteered, you
into
will
new
come.
business. And we're going to go to a series of items that Hiram will lead us through.
Sure. The first thing is that we need a resolution for designation of the applicant's agents. This is so that we can apply for the FEMA relief funds. What we're requesting is that you designate me as the primary contact and Town Clerk Anglin as the secondary contact.
You need a motion on the hiring?
We need a motion to pass the resolution so that the
So moved.
resolution goes to the state.
Is there
Second.
discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks for the extra work. The next 3 items are pretty much the same thing. We're requesting a public hearing for a text amendment. The first one is under section 606. It is a citizen-initiated text amendment. The staff report's in your packet. Deals with building footprint sizes and requirements and total living heated space. If you would, we're requesting the, what's the day? December 3rd. We're requesting a public hearing be held on December 3rd for that text amendment.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to file a motion to accept the planning board's recommendation, setting the public hearing for December 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
And it's clarification on the Article 6, the square footage.
Mm-hmm.
I just may not quite understand this, but it appears that we're saying the minimum required heating space for any dwelling in MR1 has to be 1,800 square feet.
Right.
Okay, but then in the application overview is that we are recommending that the minimum size be 750 feet for the footprint.
Building footprint is different than heated living space.
Okay, but my point is, in most of our areas, we can only have a 2-story house. 2 times 750 is 1,500.
Right.
Which is 300 feet less than our minimum required heated living space.
You're dealing with minimums.
So there's something I don't understand.
Well, basically, it's, in MR1, it's possible to have a 3-story house. It's mainland. You can go up to 35 feet height. You can get 3 floors out of that. If you look at it, all your island houses are 3 floors technically. It's just the bottom one you don't use.
Okay.
So you could technically get 2,100 square feet if you did a 750 minimum and went all the way up.
Okay, and this does not apply to the island then?
No, it eventually will. What the staff, this is different, the planning board has recommended this and make this change to all houses. The difference is in each zone, the minimum is, heated square footage is different. For MR1, it's 1,800. For MR2, it's 1,200. For most of the rest of the town, it's 1,000. Minimum heated square footage. So
Okay.
that changes, but this base regulation of the defined terms is what we're looking at being a difference, because essentially here, with a minimum footprint size of 1,800 square foot to have a two-story house, you're looking at 3,600 square feet of a house. And that's just, you know, some people, it's more than what people need. So the basis here is to be more in line, and actually it's gonna help us with reducing impervious surface. So it's gonna help with stormwater runoff, things like that. Maintaining residential character as opposed to having McMansions. You know, so it's overall quality of life benefit as well.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
Other comments or discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
The next one is requesting a public hearing for UDO text amendment for section 12.04E. This is our flood ordinances. We recently updated the flood ordinances in June, and in July, the State Department of Insurance and State Department of Public Safety contacted us, letting us know that the rules for the building code were changing as such that this had to be changed as well to match the building code. Essentially, a coastal A zone is an A zone right after a V zone. So this affects our mainland houses where the V zone is the intercoastal waterway. A flood zones right on the, as you hit the mainland, they still have to be built to V zone construction standards by the building code. And our ordinances were going to be incongruous because it used to be you only had to apply it to commercial and residential was optional. Now the building codes for residential are saying that they have to be the same. So this is just making a one-word change in our ordinances that we just updated to be compliant with state law.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to file a motion accepting the planning board's recommendation to modify the UDO text amendment 1204E and to schedule a public hearing December 3rd, 2018.
Thank you. Thank you.
Second.
Is there a second? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And a request for a public hearing for a UDO text amendment for section 7.09 fences. 7.09A and B would be in this packet, but and you can see the staff report in there, but the crux of this decision was to add in some non-permitted materials for fencing and to change how we handle side yard fences.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to file a motion accepting the planning board's recommendation to schedule a public hearing for December 3rd, 2018 at 7
Second.
p.m.
We have the motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Let's see here, and we're now on item number 5 in new business. Appointment of a council liaison for dredging-related communication, and Mark and Hiram are going to present that.
Well, at this point, I'd like to recommend that we have 2 council people doing this, myself and Jen Harris, as a liaison to the issue of dredging.
I second the motion.
All right, discussion?
What,
You know, John, when
What-
something comes
what
up, or a phone call, we'll be there sitting there listening to it, get back to
okay,
town
start
council.
out, I mean, yeah, I'm asking, what does this entail? What are responsibilities? What are the authorities?
Well, like the other day, we had the dredging phone call. I sat in on that meeting.
Yeah,
Jan asked if she could please sit on that meeting from now on. I said, sure, I have no problem with that. Hiram said it's fine too, so that's all we're doing. Yeah.
John, in the previous council, there was 2 council members that attended scoping meetings. Mark was one and Peter Larkin was one. So the previous council had 2 liaison people. And I would very much like to be the second liaison person.
Ms. Harris is the most qualified person here to handle this matter. She's won 3 Pelican Awards.
No.
She knows the statutes up and down. There's nobody better.
Other-
Can we make, is any more discussion? I mean, making the motion? I can make that motion?
Yeah, well, yeah, go ahead and make the motion.
I'd like to make the motion to appoint Mark Benton and Jen Harris for the liaison for dredging for the Sunset Beach town.
And is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion. Anything else? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, item number 6. Council has already decided that it would not meet on, at its regularly scheduled time on November 20th, given that it is just 2 days before Thanksgiving and some members are out of town. We also have found in our schedules time on a week earlier on November 13th that we were going to get together in a closed session to consider applications for the town administrator position. That meeting was to start at 3 in order to give Lisa time that morning to put together all of our individual efforts on the applicants. That Monday being Veterans Day and a holiday for town hall staff. However, Lisa has said that she can get those materials put together in time for 9 o'clock on Tuesday the 13th. And therefore, my question to council would be, would you like to go ahead and set that meeting for 9 o'clock, do a couple orders of business in open session, and then go to closed session to consider the applications?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I have a doctor's appointment, 8:30 in Myrtle Beach.
Okay, and just so that everybody understands, we had talked about 3 o'clock, and therefore, if somebody has an obligation that should have fit or it would have fit, if we were not considering some change.
Lisa, can you do it at 6 o'clock in the morning?
I should be back by 10:30. I should be good.
Well, let's make sure that we give you plenty of time, but we could do this,
Noon.
you tell me. I
11?
hear 11 noon, you tell me what would be.
I have a nonprofit meeting commitment that starts at noon.
Okay.
Which was a previous commitment. Again, the scheduling of 3 o'clock in the afternoon was in line with what schedules we had and
Right.
planning that we had made.
Right.
I think the priority that we should have on the 13th is the closed meeting to address the town administrator issues.
Go
And
ahead.
anything else, we pretty much said in the previous meeting, the 11/20, November 20 things could be pushed off to the future.
Yes, it's not a disaster to do it that way. The advantage would be if it had worked out, we would be able to tackle a couple of items and shorten the agenda for after Thanksgiving. But it doesn't seem that that works out, so we'll just have those items move to afterwards, and we'll continue with our intent to meet at 3 o'clock in closed session on the 13th.
Okay.
Does that seem acceptable, Hiram?
Y'all need a formal motion to cancel the 11:20 meeting.
Good point, we do. And to schedule the
I'd like
other.
to make a motion.
Go ahead,
I'd like to
Mark.
make a motion to cancel the November 20th meeting and reschedule it for November 13th at 3 o'clock.
Okay, get both things in there. A second.
Second.
Wait, Jan, we have a second. Jan, do you have a question?
November 13 at 3 PM?
And that'll be a
I-
closed,
I'm,
a
I'm
closed
fine
meeting.
with, I'm fine with that, but it's all a closed meeting, correct?
Yes.
It will all be a closed meeting.
So it's not taking the place of the November 20th?
It's
meeting?
not.
Okay.
What, the meeting is just for the town administrator position?
That'll be the sole purpose of that meeting.
But you have to start out in
Yes.
open session
Of,
and
yes,
then make a motion to go into closed.
right.
Right.
So it's an open meeting that the purpose is to go into closed session.
But
Is
there
that
won't
what
be
you're
any
saying?
agenda topics at that meeting, is that correct?
The purpose is to go into closed session,
Okay.
right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Charlie?
That's,
Oh.
I'm good.
Okay. Let's see, item number 7.
Then you have to vote.
You gotta vote.
Boy,
All in
I'm just
favor.
moving right past these votes tonight.
Good try.
We have a motion, we have a second. Yeah. We have a second. I'll ask if there is further discussion. I don't think there is. Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you. And we're now on item 7 on page 113 in the packet, and that really refers to page 114, and that is a calendar for meetings of the Town Council, Planning Board, and Board of Adjustment in 2019.
I have one comment.
Please.
As happened this year, and actually the previous 15 years, from July 14th to the 24th, I will be out of town.
July 14th to the 24th.
Yeah, so the second meeting, July 16th, I'm just letting you know now, I will not be here.
You know, if it comes to that, we'll cancel that meeting, that's all. If usually that agenda's not that busy in July anyway. I think we canceled one last year, didn't we? Yeah, John, we can't.
You all can do that right now by just wiping
So I'd like to
out
put a
that
motion.
second meeting.
Mayor,
Okay?
that we change, accept this schedule for next year, other than July 16th, we cancel that meeting.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Any discussion or further discussion about that?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And I have just one very brief question concerning the directives. The things that are listed on page 115 for November 20th will, if all of those sponsors will be ready, will be pushed to December 3rd. So the first 5 items. Does anyone know if any of those items will not be ready for December 3rd?
No.
Well, I mean, my question, the ERC one was another round of discussions to take place.
Okay.
Which we normally do at the second meeting. I mean, we are ready to do it either day. I mean, that's, the.
Your preference, if you're ready to go on the 3rd, most of the items listed here, I don't believe are going to be major time-consuming items, so I don't think time will be the issue. And if the two of you prefer the 3rd, fine. If you prefer the second meeting in December, that's also fine.
3rd is fine with me.
Third is fine. And I also point out that the other ones, the item number 2 and item number 3, and actually item number 4 are pretty much discussion items also.
Yeah, I would request on behalf of staff that those be held on 12/19 at least number 3 and 4.
You don't want to talk about Cabana?
Well, number 2.
Well, and number 2, yeah,
Number 2 is.
hand in hand
Part
with
and parcel with
it. But the staff normally prepares that conversation for the day meeting, just it's just a general follow-up topic. But also, there's a lot of staff members we'll have to have here present possibly at that night meeting. And we've already added 6 items just from me alone tonight to that meeting. So
So 2, 3, and 4 you want to do on the 18th?
I would prefer from our perspective to do on is it 18th or 19th?
2, 3, and 4.
That-
December 18th is the second meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, December 18th.
That would seem to be fine, I
That's fine with
believe.
me.
Yep.
Number 1 stays on the
Mr.
third.
Mayor, I owe
Yeah,
you
we can have
a gender request report regarding the legal review regarding the erosion and flooding. Also, what I would like to remind, we had a brief discussion about Citizen Beach parking, and Harum has done some homework with myself. In the next session, because it's a real estate matter, was going to be a closed session. Now, so we can identify the property. I don't know if that can be done on the 13th.
3rd or 18th?
Well, when we have the closed session.
No,
for-
the 13th,
the
you've already
13th.
stated is just for the town,
Well,
to go
can
over
we-
that.
Can we change that so we can,
No.
Well, if it's
No.
okay,
Why are
let's
you
put that
shaking your
on
head,
the
Jan?
3rd.
can't we chew gum? It's not gonna take that long. It's just gonna take maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
Will it disadvantage us in any way
I don't
not
know.
to consider it on the 3rd, to move it to the 3rd?
No, you can move it to, move it to the 3rd.
The
That's
3rd,
fine.
okay, so that's
Yeah,
item
you've already,
18.
you'd have
Yeah.
to do it.
All
We
right,
will
good.
have to amend the motion to do it.
No, they moved it to the 3rd.
They moved it, okay.
Okay, which item is this?
It's item 18, the Citizens Beach Parking Feasibility Study.
I don't know why we keep doing this.
Will be scheduled for December 3rd.
Mayor, I just want to be put on the record that year after year we do this, we talk about these studies. They've done these studies before with Mark Kaplan. He's told Rich and I multiple times, he's only sold out one day a year. And why are we going to spend one dime on one piece of real estate to put another 15 or 20 cars there? It makes no sense to me.
There are many citizens out there that are requesting this.
You know, we can park. You're gonna buy a house on the beach and have a parking lot put next to you? I don't think that's
I
right.
wouldn't mind having one next to me,
Yeah, right.
really.
Because you don't want the house.
I don't know if any of you survivors have a public comment. At this point, it can be about any matter of town business. And if you do, we would be happy to hear from you. Go ahead.
Each public hearing has a new item with it.
Eddie, that's a long wait.
You just brought it up, Mark. I'm gonna follow up on that.
Okay.
Eddie Walters, Sunset Beach, 1818 East Main. You will never provide enough parking on that island for everybody who wants a parking place. And to think otherwise is a joke. Spending lots of money to produce 10, 15, 20, 50 parking spaces, 100 parking spaces is a fool's errand. So I've been to a lot of places that have a lot more population than Sunset Beach. All you have to do is get up early and you'll have a parking space.
Or pay for it.
Or pay for it. Simple.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie.
Yes, Karen?
Karen Joseph, 915 Sandpiper Bay Drive. Number one, I agree with Mr. Walters. When I was on the council, we had an extensive committee of residents do a study of parking. He's right. They were right. If I understood your somewhat convoluted discussion, the mayor's name is going to be at the bottom of the letter that you are going to be sending eventually to all the residents of Sunset Beach. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that people are being told, send their questions or comments to your email address as opposed to the email address that would normally be reviewed by Lisa. The info at Sunset Beach, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Lisa will get a
So
copy, but
now,
that's correct.
unless I'm wrong, I will send my comments to you. In order for the rest of the council to get my comments, don't you have to send them to Lisa so she can then send them to the rest of the council? Isn't that a little silly, folks?
Karen, the reason we
Le-
did that
le-
because, you know, we didn't put all the obligation to Lisa. She's overworked now that would take some of the work off of her, that's all.
It doesn't, Mark. He's got to send my comment to Lisa so she can send it to the rest of you. It doesn't relieve, I mean, it's very nice to try to relieve her of work, but that's not going to relieve her of anything.
Well, it's intended to relieve her of the process of sending a response to each person who sends in. That would become my responsibility.
And you could do that anyway. If the if the letter stayed the way it is now, and she then sent all of you, you know, here, Karen Joseph said, what a great idea, and then you have a standard response. Dear Karen, on behalf of the council, thank you very much. Just a suggestion. Regarding your salary study, the salary study that Mr. Nern referred to, chaired by Lou DeVita, the towns we were compared to were like towns, population-wise and other criteria. So when you say we don't compare to Wrightsville Beach, we did then, but we didn't compare to Calabash. We didn't compare to Ocean Isle, which still has less than 1,000 full-time residents. So, you know, that study was very comprehensive. And Charlie is right. What we learned was Lisa Anglin, just to use her as an example, is doing these 6 responsibilities. But in all the other towns, there was an assistant town clerk who was doing some of those responsibilities. So I caution you, if you're going to do any kind of salary comparisons, do like towns, and then dig deep into what the staff does and how much they get paid to do it. Thank you for your time.
Karen, could I ask you just one quick question? Sure. When you referred to the study that was chaired by Lou DeVita, was that the 2011 study?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else with a public comment? Okay, thank you all for hanging in there, and thank you, council. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.